Hello, babes. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new, welcome. So in today's video, we are going to be discussing something a little bit heavier and something a little bit more serious other than fashion and TV shows that I normally talk about. We will be talking about Black women and the scrutiny they receive in the media, as well as why Black women don't owe you anything. So let's get into it. So as many of you know, my channel was created as a space for women, a place where we can discuss fashion, TV shows, music, and more. A space where women can come and simply be women, while also being able to call out other women when they treat women in harmful ways. Being a woman does not automatically make someone trustworthy, and I've never believed in blindly supporting someone simply because she's a woman. However, I am a Black woman first, so when I see Black women being mistreated, disrespected, ostracized, or dehumanized, it boils my blood. With this recent video circulating about Beyonce and the disgusting meme of Megan Thee Stallion that was created by a parasite from hell, I've been thinking about how Black women are protected depending upon whether or not certain people actually like them. And what I've noticed is how comfortable some people are with the pain of Black women. There are people who genuinely seem to get off on seeing Black women struggle, experience strife, be tormented, antagonized, bullied, humiliated, and even sexually harassed. Black women's bodies are constantly discussed as though they are objects or possessions. People make entire videos dissecting the bodies of Black women, as we saw with Beyonce a few years ago, and hell, even recently. And if a Black woman doesn't perform Blackness in the way you think she should, especially if she steps outside of stereotypes, some people turn into rabid, maniacal lunatics looking for something to feast on, and often that feast is the Black woman. The compassion and empathy that are so easily extended to other women somehow disappear the moment that woman is Black. So there has been this conversation circulating about Beyonce sitting on this man's lap in a video where she gets to speak to someone who she idolizes, which is Michael Jackson. Now, I don't usually discuss topics like this on my channel because they can be triggering and deeply uncomfortable, as well as I want this to be a space where we celebrate lightness in its light with everything that is going on in the world. But I'm going to discuss it because there is a disgusting mindset that has existed for decades within the Black community, and that is calling a Black girl fast when something happens to her, blaming her when a grown, disgusting man attempts to groom her, or worse. And then there's the blaming her because she developed early, as if that was a choice of hers, protecting predators and abusers, making excuses for men who have power, but somehow when a woman or a girl is involved, the man who has committed the wrongdoing, he suddenly becomes the victim. And the power he has and holds, oh, that power has disappeared and he's infantilized. Not the Black girl. Oh no. Because when it comes to Black women, it is as though she suddenly deserves no protection. It's always Black men go through so much, with the capes coming out in droves, as if Black women don't go out into the world and experience racism while also navigating the realities of being a woman. I've been saying for years that women owe you nothing, but Black women especially don't owe you a damn thing. Black women have been the nurturers, the fighters, the ones holding everything together. We've broken molds, challenged biases, spoken out, carried people on our backs, and poured into our communities. We don't owe anyone a thing. And yet, when something happens, who do people come for? The Black woman. There is only one way so many people want Black women to exist, and that is for their entertainment, their consumption, and their convenience, as well as to be their mules, to carry everyone else while asking for nothing in return. There is an immense pressure placed on Black women to constantly perform, to be strong, agreeable, humble, forgiving, desirable but not too confident, successful but not too intimidating, outspoken but not angry. People feel entitled to Black women in ways that are honestly and truthfully disturbing. Let's look at how Megan Thee Stallion, Rihanna, and Halle Bailey have been treated when they've experienced abuse or public mistreatment. It speaks volumes about the amounts of hate and vitriol directed toward Black women, and especially how much of it can come from within our own community.
But I owe Tory Lanez an apology, and I'm gonna do it here publicly.
Okay.
Because I sort of jumped on the bandwagon of shame on him. Why did he do that? He's like, I found guilty, blah, 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 blah. I was not fully in my case. I was not understanding. You know, I was naive. I believe that you go through this due process and you go through the judicial system and then you lay out your facts and so I'm not going to speak on it for a second time prematurely, but I'm gonna say this. If there was evidence that was suppressed, if there's any possibility that Tory Lanez did not do this, that man deserves a retrial. He deserves the opportunity to present, because we all kind of felt like something, and this isn't me, you know, because I don't have a personal issue with him or a personal issue with Meg. I have an issue with any system that will allow somebody to suffer without having them have an opportunity to lay out all the facts. Period. Because just like we're seeing, you know, I thought, you know, oh my God, it's terrible. He had people locked in on the Diddy thing. He had people chained in the baby. You know, I'm believing all of the hype, right? Knowing that it could be some BS. But as we start to hear more and learn more, you're like, oh, well, okay, this was still terrible, but it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was, right?
We have an exclusive look at the police report from that night. Suzanne is at the courthouse right now. Suzanne, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. As you mentioned, all of this information coming from the detective's report. Apparently, the fight started with a text message, escalated to punching and biting. At one point, Rihanna tries to call her assistant. She doesn't get through, but she says into the phone, call the police. I want them there when I get home. Brown hears this, and that's when he allegedly threatens to kill her. First, Rihanna read a 3-page text message from a woman to Brown. That's when the argument began. Brown tried to force Rihanna out of the car, but couldn't because she had on her seatbelt. Brown shoved her head against the passenger window. When Rihanna turned to face him, he punched her, then continued to punch her while driving, her mouth filled with blood, and blood splattered all over her clothing and the interior of his rented Lamborghini.
Brown tells Rihanna, I'm going to beat the expletive out of you when we get home. You wait and see. Rihanna calls her assistant, who doesn't answer, but she still says, I'm on my way home. Make sure the cops are there when I get there. Brown looks at Rihanna and tells her, you just did the stupidest thing ever. Now I'm really going to kill you. Brown continued to punch Rihanna while driving. He placed her in a headlock, pulled her close, and bit her on her left ear. At one point, she began to lose consciousness, and the biting continued. Brown bit her left ring and middle fingers, then released her.
I'm amazed to read some of those performances with him. You had blood in your mouth when you were singing.
It was the first time I experienced it when I had a nose problem, and I didn't know I'd never had a broken nose before. It was cracked there or something. And
from one of the beatings?
Yeah, this was one before a show and one of those things in the dressing room. And I don't know what to tell you. It became a way of life. It was on hold, I have to say, as far as I can remember now. I had put everything on hold because it was just an existence of children being involved, deaths. Where is it to go? You know, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
I opened for Tina at Caesars in Atlantic City. I have to admit, she's not the nicest lady in the world. But I never thought about punching her with malicious intent. You know, I mean, I never thought about, you know, I don't like opening, you know, but you did hit her at one point, didn't you?
We've been out fights, some of them, you know, like just arguments. I don't think we had no more fights than the guy next door.
Yeah.
And let's say it like this. You like the way she sang today, do you?
Not really, but I'm sure some people do.
Oh, all right. You like the way she look?
Huh?
You like the way she look?
I'm into a much younger woman. But, you know, but if I was her age, I would love that. You know?
Yeah, well, anyway, it's like everybody asks me the same question. Did y'all fight? If she stayed there and we fought for 18 years, man, she must be one of those people like the DV. If it's true what they said, we had our fights,
Maybe she just loved you and kept trying, you know?
People take and take from Black women like vampires until there is nothing left. Then move on to the next Black woman and repeat the same cycle. God forbid a Black woman speaks out about the abuse she has endured at the hands of someone from her own community. Suddenly, she is made to feel as though she committed the crime. Meanwhile, hugs, kisses, forgiveness, and endless grace are extended to the man. Suddenly, the Bible and scripture come out. People use God as a shield while there is no changed behavior from said man. They have the tongue of a serpent, yet somehow all a man has to do is shed a few tears and say, he's changed. Everyone makes mistakes. And suddenly we're expected to forgive, forget, and move on.
And Chris Brown, I love you. I love you, and we're all human. Nobody's perfect. We all F up, baby. And you got me. I love you for life.
I'm so glad Chris is back. I'm so glad that, people are finally forgiving him and finally, accepting him back into our good graces. He deserves it. Second chance.
Which has been the case for so many years. So let's move on to Chloe. What Chloe Bailey has recently experienced, and honestly what she has been experiencing for years, from unhinged, obsessed people who live vicariously through the internet, is revolting. And let me tell you something, right? Some of you are parasocial haters. Just because you're not a fan of that person doesn't mean that you're not parasocial. You parasocially hate, meaning you get up in the morning, you check and see what that celebrity is doing, what they are up to, just so you can go and hate, so you can leave nasty comments. You become obsessed with hating them, which is how we get the situation that took place with Rihanna. All because you don't like Chloe Bailey. I've always found it comical how comfortable people online become with hurling whatever they want at celebrities. But the moment that celebrity claps back, suddenly you are the victim? Girl, please. A lot of you are not mentally well. You are getting online and projecting your personal frustrations, insecurities, and failures onto people instead of actually dealing with who? Yourselves. This woman has received some of the most god-awful comments. For what? Do you have to be a huge fan of her? No. Do you have to like her music or how she performs or whatever the case may be? No. But some of you behave as though you have absolutely no emotional regulation. But we also know a lot of you hate seeing Black women happy, joyous, and enjoying their lives. It disrupts your dysfunction. It angers the deep darkness you have within your soul, and you can't seem to fathom why that Black girl is happy, yet you're so miserable, yet you're living in.
You say, I don't like her. Chloe Bailey is so goddamn lame to me. First of all, girl, you were Miss Preppy Ashley from the suburbs. Then you came out, you was being all promiscuous and shit, and then now you're trying to be a gangster. None of it is fucking believable, girl. None of it is believable. And without that makeup, she ain't cute. She should have never showed up on that camera with that fat ass face without no makeup. She ain't cute. You're not believable. You're so goddamn inauthentic. That's why your shit ain't selling.
One thing that really blows me about some of y'all who get on the internet and talk about women, especially women like Chloe Bailey, who was recently just posted up in her carnival outfit, right? And I checked the comments because I knew it would be some hating here, just like it always is, because for whatever reason y'all really pick on Chloe Bailey, and I really don't like that. She was posted up in her carnival fit, right? And I go down in the comments and some girls like, I don't know, this too much. Oh, but why? This girl made a Lego piano one time, and you know what? Y'all was still being negative. How can you be negative towards somebody who's making a Lego piano? I know y'all want to be her. It just makes no sense. Otherwise, because it'd be the same hoe going to the strip club. It'd be the same hoe be watching porn. And I'm not judging any of that. What I'm simply saying is, y'all know this ain't the worst thing you done seen on the internet. It's worse shit going on in the world than her being flossed up in this little two-piece or this little one-piece that she looks absolutely gorgeous in. She looks great. That's another reason why I know some of you are mad.
People have become so comfortable online because they know they may never have to face the person they're hurting. So they just say whatever comes to their unhinged mind. And I've always said that I don't think everyone should have unrestricted access to the internet. You should not be able to harass, bully, humiliate, and potentially affect someone's mental health simply because you are dissatisfied with your own life or with the things you haven't accomplished. And another thing I've noticed is the visceral reactions some people have toward beautiful, confident Black women. A Black woman's confidence is treated like an attack. They expect Black women to beg for validation, to be grateful for the smallest compliment, and to worship whoever decides to give it to them. Because a Black woman who is confident in herself threatens people who rely on her insecurity to feel superior. What do you mean you're a beautiful Black woman? What do you mean you know your worth? What do you mean you don't need my validation? How dare you not think you're inferior to me? That's the quiet part that people don't want to say out loud. A Black woman who knows who she is, understands her worth, refuses to shrink herself, and does not need permission to feel beautiful will always make certain people uncomfortable. Going back to this video that's circulating regarding Beyonce is somehow not considered a victim because she was 19 and quote unquote should have known better. But when there is discourse surrounding other celebrities, then only they can be victims and grace and empathy is only extended to them. Black women don't receive that same protection, and especially not Beyonce, because she is a beautiful mega superstar. What could she have possibly gone through? If she were a victim, I can already imagine the rhetoric would be, well, that's what she gets. Why was she here? I am not going to make accusations about what may or may not have taken place in this situation or in any situation involving a woman in the industry, because I don't think it's my place or anyone else's place. But that person who has been affected to speak on it. And if she was a victim of something, I'm sure that is trauma she may not want to discuss publicly, which should be respected. But people online don't truly care about trauma. I spoke about this in my video discussing parasocial relationships. People will take someone's trauma and use it as fodder, as an aha, gotcha moment, rather than coming from a genuine place of care and concern. A lot of these trash bin blogs that promote predatory celebrity culture are essentially the Perez Hiltons of today's media. They'll post certain articles, then sit back and allow their commenters and followers to bully and tear these celebrities apart while conveniently avoiding saying certain things themselves because they don't want to be sued. But their platforms are still being used as tools to promote harassment, bullying, and mental distress. Even though they'll put up things like, "We don't condone bullying. Do you really not condone bullying?" And somewhere along the way, the fact that these celebrities are human gets completely removed from the conversation. And the same thing was done to Aaliyah. People shamed a young girl who had been groomed, and the way she was spoken about was absolutely disgusting. I remember those conversations very clearly. People conveniently leave out how Aaliyah was treated when she was alive because she has passed away. But many of the same people now pretending they were her biggest fans, or using her name to compare her to Beyonce and create all kinds of sick conspiracies, y'all are not well, were the very same people calling Aaliyah fast, calling her sluts, and defending the 27-year-old predator who married a 15-year-old girl. People seem to think that the things they said and did while a celebrity was alive somehow disappear once that person passes away. They don't. The internet has a memory, and so does history. We saw the same thing happen with Whitney Houston. And yet, somehow the shame, scrutiny, and blame found their way back onto the black girl. Especially because, black children aren't allowed to be children. And they aren't children once they reach a certain age. And hell, some people don't even look at black children as children at all. That is the part of these conversations that I will never ignore, because it is very easy to rewrite history once someone has passed away and turn them into an untouchable icon. But if we're going to invoke Aaliyah's name in these conversations, then we also need to be honest about how she was treated while she was here and who people chose to protect at her expense.
The title of the album come from?
She's running around the studio one day with her friends, talking around smack. So my age ain't nothing but a number, girl. I'm like, what you trying to say? So immediately I heard the song, and I called her back 15 minutes later, told her, check this out. So we cut the track right then and there.
And for the record, you are how old? That's a secret. Women doesn't disclose her age.
Song on the R&B charts, Bump and Grind. Kelly also found time to write and produce top 10 hits for his teenage bride Aaliyah and girl group Changing Face.
When Little Kim came to prominence and her star began to rise, she had made some changes to her appearance. Of course, the media has always picked apart women's looks and found ways to bully them, but the moment she began changing things about herself, that became the thing people relentlessly mocked and criticized her for. Which is where the hypocrisy comes in. The same people who spent years tearing women apart over their looks suddenly want to condemn them when they decide to change those very things they were bullied for. You cannot have it both ways. I'm not against a woman choosing to change something about herself if it makes her feel more comfortable or confident within herself, especially when she has spent years in the public eye, having every aspect of her appearance picked apart for entertainment. But Little Kim's journey with plastic surgery also began under unfortunate circumstances involving a man she was dating. Kim has spoken out about being in a physically abusive relationship that left her with serious injuries, including a broken nose, and she has shared that she underwent corrective surgery as a result.
On a sad note, which was something that I read about and I had no idea about your life, was when you talked about being in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, it was hard. And I shared that story because people think, once celebrities, especially females, get into the industry, they feel like we're so different. But I just wanted females to know that I went through the same thing while I was some people's role models and Little Kim. And I had broken nose, black eyes, all that stuff. It was hard.
How does that happen to you? How are you because like you said, you're Little Kim, you're people look up to you, you're a celebrity. You would think that you'd be protected from that somewhat.
We the same people, I believe, just like y'all. Same people. I got feelings just like y'all, and that's the whole thing. Like, we still, at the end of the day, human.
How do you and so how did you get out of that? You just got to a point where it was...
God, I was praying. God, yeah, you just got to be strong and say that I'm beautiful. I gotta go somewhere else.
I gotta get out.
You know. As women, we gotta know that. You know, you really gotta sit and look in the mirror sometime and say that to yourself, whether you feel it or not. You gotta just say it and believe that. That's good.
So
I do that in the mirror all the time. I be like,
a lot of people say that too. That is a reflection. People get into abusive relationships as a reflection of having low self-esteem. Do you think that you suffer from that too?
Nah, I don't think that was more so my case because, you know, he never really put me down in the way where he thought, you know, he made my self-esteem bad as far as saying, oh, I was unattractive. He thought I was beautiful, but he just, you know, he had a problem. And I think sometimes women get stuck on thinking we could change a man or thinking, you know, he's sick and we can help him. And that wasn't the case. You know, a person like that has to go to professional help or something.
Right.
You know, so.
And you talked about how, I guess you had to fix your nose too after one point, right?
I had fixed it already. And then after that, it was broke again, so I had to
So you had to go again. So that was an unplanned surgery.
Yeah, it was. That's why I go to the side.
Actually, when you had to go through something so traumatic dealing with the surgery and stuff, because everybody has an opinion about you having the surgery. on your
Yeah, I
face.
think they talked more about it the day I got indicted, and I was all on TV because, you know, when you do stuff to yourself, you need time to like heal. And like I had just, you know, with, you know, to my doctor and everything, whatever, to fix some things and, you know, do what I wanted to do. And, you know, I didn't know I was gonna be in a Chanel handcuffs the next day. So I mean, you know, it happened.
You might have waited.
Yeah, I might have waited. Shoot, somebody should have called me. Yeah, Kim, we're coming to get you.
Seeing the way Little Kim was treated by the public for the aftermath of abuse she endured at the hands of a man has always sickened me. Of course, she eventually had additional procedures for aesthetic reasons, and she has been open about that. But it is important to understand that the beginning of that surgery was not simply about vanity or wanting to change her appearance. It was also connected to physical trauma she experienced in an abusive relationship. For years, I've seen conversations about Beyonce not being relatable and similar debates about other Black women in the public eye. This idea of relatability often seems tied to a deeper expectation that Black women must always be accessible. Whether in the workplace, school, or entertainment industry, the moment a Black woman does not fit a stereotype or does not openly give herself to others, she is labeled as stuck up or told she needs to open up. But why is it that other women can be reserved, introverted, or private without as much scrutiny, yet Black women are expected to always be available? When Black women are expressive and extroverted, they're often ridiculed, labeled as ghetto, or accused of being quote-unquote too much. Yet when a Black woman is quiet, people assume she's mean, standoffish, or she thinks she's better than others.
I was working at this one job, and this lady did not like the fact that I didn't speak a lot. Like, I was just super quiet because I had nothing to say to anyone at the job. So after the first week of just working at this job, this lady basically was like, oh, Jennifer thinks that she's better than us because she doesn't want to speak to us. She thinks that she is so much better than everyone else here because she doesn't want to talk. She doesn't want to interact with us. And that was like further from the fucking truth because it was just straight projection that she was putting onto me. It's just that I didn't have anything to say to the people at that job. I have autism and I do not speak unless I'm spoken to or unless I have something to say. And yes, I'm a yapper when I'm talking about my special interests, when I'm talking about things that I'm knowledgeable about. I will yap and yap and yap and yap and yap. But when I have nothing to fucking say, I will not say a single fucking thing. And I don't know why people get threatened by that. I don't know why people get so angry about that. But newsflash, you can't force me to talk. You can't force me to interact with everyone else, especially if I don't want to, just because to make you feel better about yourself.
Why is it that Black women aren't allowed to be introverted at work? Why is there this unspoken expectation for us to be chipper and excited or funny or entertaining? Otherwise, we don't like our job or we don't like our coworkers or we're not fitting into the culture. I'm in this Corporate Baddies Connect group chat where Black women of all industries just like share their experiences, and that's what we've been talking about lately. Is just like performance reviews are coming around and a lot of people are getting docked or getting reprimanded for being unengaged is what they call it. And it's like, that's not fair. Like, that is not a fair expectation for us.
At the root of these perceptions is entitlement. People believe they should have access to Black women at all times. Society has long treated Black women as mules, entertainers, and emotional caretakers, and when they assert boundaries, it's met with resistance. Of course, that expectation isn't just social, it's historical. From being forced into caretaking roles during slavery to the strong Black woman trope today, Black women have been conditioned to put others before themselves. But we do not owe anyone our time, energy, or emotional labor. Black women have carried enough burdens. We are expected to fight for everyone, nurture everyone, and be the foundation for movements that don't always protect us in return. But we have the right to say no. We have the right to prioritize ourselves without guilt. Every time something happens, people turn to Black women to be their warriors. Which comes back to what I was saying. When people say Beyonce isn't relatable, what they really mean is that they feel entitled to her. She has spent decades providing music and entertainment, giving interviews, and engaging with the public. She has paid her dues. At this point in her career, she has every right to let her music and accolades speak for themselves. But society struggles to accept that. A Black woman setting boundaries is always met with resistance. For years, both the media and the public have spoken vilely about her child, mocking her daughter's hair in ways that exposed the lack of protection Black children receive compared to others. People have ridiculed the way Beyonce speaks, scrutinized her every word, and drawn their own conclusions no matter what she says. So why should she subject herself to that? The demand for her to engage more isn't about genuine connection. It's about control. It comes from the same entitlement that assumes Black women owe the world access to their thoughts, their emotions, and their privacy. Black women are constantly compared to one another as if we're a monolith, as if there's only one acceptable way for us to exist. There's little representation for the quiet, introverted, or socially awkward Black woman. And because of that, when a Black woman is reserved, people assume something must be wrong with her. It's exhausting to constantly be told you owe the world something simply because of who you are. Society wants to mock and bully Black women while still demanding access to them. Historically, Black women have been treated as the public's emotional punching bags, as sources of entertainment to be picked apart and ridiculed. Even within our own community, we see this reflected. If you read too much, speak a certain way, or have interests outside of what's expected, you're accused of wanting to be white, which, oh my God, I hate this so much. This mindset is rooted in a long history of associating intelligence and curiosity with whiteness, as if Black people cannot exist in all forms. And much of this comes from a place of lazy thinking, a refusal to challenge outdated ideas, and embrace a broader, richer definition of Black identity. The entitlement to Black women doesn't stop at access to our time and emotions. It extends to our bodies as well. Society has long treated Black women's bodies as public property, subjecting us to hypersexualization, unwanted comments, and invasive scrutiny. And when we call it out, we're met with gaslighting, excuses, and dismissals. Take Love is Blind, for example. When AD, a Black woman, was immediately subjected to inappropriate comments from a white couple about her body, it was brushed off as a joke. The audacity to make a sexualized remark about a Black woman in a casual setting, then act like it's harmless, is exactly the issue. The so-called coded language for touching a woman's body without consent was just beyond disgusting. Yet, instead of acknowledging how inappropriate it was, they laughed it off as if Black women should just accept being disrespected. And if you react in a certain way, it's, oh my gosh, she's so ghetto, she's so loud, oh, she's so angry, I'm scared. This is the pattern. When Black women set boundaries, we're overreacting. When we speak up, we're labeled as aggressive or difficult. And when we demand accountability, suddenly we are the ones making a big deal out of nothing. It's just extremely exhausting. The expectation is always for Black women to endure, to tolerate, to educate others on their harmful behavior, but never for others to simply do better. Black women are never allowed to be victims in the eyes of society. When we are disrespected, we're told to get over it. When we are hurt, our pain is minimized. When we demand justice, we are silenced. But let me be clear, Black women do not exist to make others comfortable. We do not exist to be your educators, your entertainment, or your emotional dumping grounds. And we damn sure don't exist to be your objects of desire when it's convenient for you, only to be discarded or degraded when we assert ourselves. If you have an issue with a Black woman speaking about her experiences, that's your problem to unpack, not ours. If you're not a Black woman, you don't get to dictate how we should feel, react, or process our lived realities. Some of you also need to reflect on why you feel entitled to Black women's privacy, why you believe Black women don't have the right to be introverted, quiet, or shy without it being misinterpreted as an attitude problem. The reality is there's nothing healthy or rational about being that invested in dictating how someone else should exist. This obsession with Black women's personalities and interests is a reflection of a deeper societal issue. Black women are expected to perform for others, to always be accessible, entertaining, and accommodating. If a Black woman is extroverted, confident, or expressive, as I said before, she's labeled too loud or ghetto or doing too much. If she's introverted and reserved, she's suddenly cold, stuck up, or thinks she's better than everyone else. There is no room for nuance, no space for Black women to simply be without having to explain themselves. And I'm going to be real right now, this isn't just coming from outsiders. Some of the loudest critics of Black women are other Black people. There's a deep-rooted issue within our community where some of us police each other to the point of reinforcing the very stereotypes and limitations that have been placed on us for generations. If a Black woman likes indie rock, classical music, or anything outside of what's been deemed acceptable, she's suddenly trying to be white, which you need to get into your history of where these genres started, but that's a video for another day. If she's into anime, gaming, or alternative fashion, she's weird. And let's not forget the outdated, small-minded belief that intelligence, articulation, or a love for books and education somehow means she's distancing herself from Blackness. Okay, Black people have always been multifaceted, diverse, and involved in every aspect of culture, from rock and punk to classical music and alternative fashion. And quiet as it's kept, a lot of Black women speak down on other Black women in the same way their mothers spoke to them. They grew up in households where love was conditional, where criticism was mistaken for care, and where softness was rarely extended to them. Instead of breaking that cycle, they project that same pain onto other Black women, repeating the same harmful patterns they once endured. It's the reason why some Black women take pleasure in criticizing other Black women, whether it's their appearance, their success, or simply how they choose to exist. So let's dive into something else, which is Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson's experience after the Super Bowl debacle is just one example of how society punishes Black women more harshly while excusing or even rewarding others for the same or worse behavior. A pattern that is most definitely not new. It has played out in the music industry, in Hollywood, in politics, and in everyday life. Black women are held to impossible standards.
How many times have I told you, you have to be what? You have to be what?
Twice.
What?
Twice as good.
Twice as good as them to get half of what they have.
We saw the same pattern repeat with Janet Jackson. They treated her as if she had deliberately exposed herself on that Super Bowl stage, when in reality, it was Justin Timberlake who did what he did to her, and then had the audacity to shift blame onto her.
Got in, didn't really have time to rehearse it, got to the field, went on stage, was in the moment, and when what happened, I mean, I was completely shocked and appalled, and all I could say was, oh my God. You know, I immediately looked at her, they brought a towel up onto the stage, I immediately covered her up. I mean, I was completely embarrassed, and just walked off the stage as quick as I could, and later that night, you know, I was informed that they wanted me to make a statement about it, and so I did. At the time, I explained what I knew, and now it's turned into an unfortunate, incredibly huge situation.
Justin was emphatic. The idea was not his.
Especially coming off such a great year. I mean, 2003 was remarkable for me. And I felt like I made a lot of steps with my music and I did a lot of good things. And like I said, I don't want to be involved in a stunt. That's not my style. You know, I don't have any reason to do this. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated at the whole situation. I'm frustrated that my character is being questioned. I don't feel like I need publicity like this. And I wouldn't want to be involved with a stunt, especially something of this magnitude. And, hey, let me just get something off my chest. You know, I've been on tour for the past 3 months. I got a call from my manager to do the Super Bowl, that they were interested in me doing the Super Bowl, and initially turned it down. Got a call from Janet, and decided to do it, found out a way to work the performance into one musically, i.e. her song going into mine. Now I wasn't able to be at a lot of the rehearsals. I flew in from Spain the last day.
Justin was so steamed, he came back after the interview was finished to say this.
So the only other thing that I can say is that I do understand how unfortunate this is. I do understand that there were a lot of people that were completely offended by what happened, including my own family. And I think that's probably the part that's frustrating the most for me. And it's completely regrettable.
Janet didn't need a moment like that to solidify her icon status. She was already an icon. We already knew who Janet was long before a Justin Timberlake even came along. But instead of protecting her, the industry and the public stripped away everything she had built, reduced her legacy, and turned her into the villain for something she did not do, for her body being exposed and for her being publicly humiliated.
I was really shocked to hear about Les Moonves and having all of this effort to derail her career. That blew my mind. But you got to be so careful in this business, man, because you could say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing and offend somebody. You don't even know it, and they hold a grudge for all those years. Let me tell you something, man. Janet is a legend and an icon. She's worked her ass off to be where she is. She deserves all of our respect. She deserves our support. And she's an incredible person, right? So my hope is that people just get behind her and rally behind her, knowing that she's been done wrong for no reason. For no reason over the Super Bowl. I mean, come on. Look at what Justin is and what he's doing now. And look at what they're trying to do to her. So I just want everybody to get behind and support. Janet's still Janet Jackson. She is still Janet Jackson.
Covered your breast because you didn't want to be exposed. If you wanted to be exposed, you wouldn't have covered it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Very embarrassing moment.
It was a very embarrassing moment. Well, 24 hours after that Super Bowl, Janet issued an apology. And I had read in another magazine that you regret making that apology. Is that true? Why?
It was an accident. And management that I had at the time, they thought it was important that I did, you know, with the project coming out. And I had said, actually, before I sat down to record the apology, that I had said to them,
what are you apologizing for?
Why am I apologizing for an accident?
Well, you did say in the apology you apologized for anybody who might have been offended by it.
Right, and they wanted me to say that, so I did. They thought it was best that I do, so I did.
The internet is buzzing about the revelation that Les Moonves had it out for Miss Jackson if you're nasty. The former CBS CEO reportedly worked to destroy Janet Jackson's career after her infamous wardrobe malfunction during the NFL's biggest game. Multiple sources say Moonves worked to get Jackson banned from MTV, VH1, CBS, and all Viacom-owned properties. The ban on Jackson's music at MTV and VH1 affected sales for her 2004 album, Demita Joe. The FCC fined CBS and MTV $550,000. Quietly, Moonves has claimed that Jackson never apologized. She maintains that it was an accident. Moonves has reportedly remained angry with her for the incident. Jackson was also banned from performing at the Grammys later that year, produced by CBS.
There were recently, a lot of articles saying that Les Moonves actually kind of actively tried to hurt her career after that. Yeah. You were there, you were on the inside. Do you have an opinion about that? Or
100%. I think that, it's crazy that if for the reason that he said, if this is all true, it's very weird to me that a person wants a person of that stature to call them, right? If I was to call, if you was to have something happen on Housewives or whatever, and I was on there and I did something crazy, I don't know that you would expect for me to call you. If you and I don't have a relationship, if I never met you before,
right?
And I said I apologize to the world for what happened, as opposed, and you still want a personal apology. That seemed weird to me. Like, that's kind of stalkerish, right? Like, I want Jermaine to call me. Why?
At the time, had you gotten a message that we are to call this person and apologize?
No, that's what I'm saying. I never heard that. Yeah.
You never heard that.
So somebody might have dropped the ball and didn't tell, but it's still weird. Like, it don't happen like that. Things don't work like that. You that big of a boss and you expecting an artist to call you.
Right. When you heard when you heard the conversation that he was maybe involved in harming her career, is that something that you believed? Did you buy into it?
I was shocked. Right. That's why I'm speaking on it now, because I just talked to a bunch of people about this a couple of days ago. It's like crazy that,
It was repulsive the way Janet was treated. And what makes it even more disturbing is how often Justin Timberlake seems to be at the center of situations where women are publicly disrespected or blamed while he walks away unscathed. Michelle Obama is another black woman who went through an immense amount of ridicule. Of course, part of that came from being the first lady, but there was also a very specific cruelty directed toward her because she is a black woman. One of the most disgusting things people did was call her a man, which is something that happens to a lot of black women when they don't look the way people believe a woman is supposed to look. They call black women masculine the same way they've done to women like Serena Williams, as if being tall, strong, muscular, confident, or simply not fitting into someone's narrow idea of femininity somehow makes you less of a woman. So when I say black women owe you nothing, I mean they owe you nothing. Not with the way black women have been treated throughout history and continue to be treated today. Fight your own battles. Speak up for yourself. Stand on your own 2 feet, but never develop this sense of entitlement that makes you believe a black woman owes you her labor, her protection, her silence, her forgiveness, her strength, or her support simply because she is a black woman. Stop expecting black women to fight battles you won't even fight for yourself, but want us to come out flying with a cape on to protect you, save you, and do other things for you. Black women have been carrying people, defending people, nurturing people, protecting people, and fighting battles that were never ours to begin with for generations. This video has come to an end. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Also, make sure your notification bells are turned on so that you always know when I upload and that you are hyping the video. And now we'll catch you guys in the next one.